This is QTV News. I am Marietu Sidibe and thanks for joining us. Coming up, a former member of ex-President Jammeh's hit squad, the so-called Junglers, concluded his testimony before the TRRC, postponed from the pre-Tobaski break. 20 journalists are currently undergoing a 2-week training course on investigative journalism, specifically on how to investigate corruption and financial misconduct by public officials. An organization intending to get politicians and the public more involved in political debate has been formally launched. As Nawetan fans await the season to start in earnest, a curtain raiser between Rangers FC and Milan Ross did much to whet their appetites. For more on this and other stories, stay tuned. The Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission have resumed hearings after the Eid break, with former member of the hit squad or jungler, Aliu Jeng, continuing and concluding his testimony before the commissioners. Jeng admitted his participation or presence in the killings and torture of former soldiers and civilians during the former regime of Yahya Jammeh. Babukar Si has more.
You participated in the execution of Haruna Jammeh.
Wow.
Yes. You participated in the execution of the Ghanaians, about at least 30 West African migrants.
Wow.
Yes.
The Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission on Monday resumed its hearings after the Tobaski break, with Aliu Jeng, a former member of the hit squad operating under the direct orders of ex-President Yahya Jammeh, testifying before the commissioners. Jeng finally admitted to his active role in participating in the killing of at least 30 West African migrants, the killing of Haruna Jammeh, Daba Marena and 6 others, and his role in the torture sessions at the NIA headquarters.
When you testified earlier, you denied working with Selo Bojang at all. You now accept that you also worked with Selo Bojang.
Wow.
Yes. And on this particular operation, you say Selo Bojang was in charge, correct?
Yes, he was in charge.
Wow.
Wow, Solo Bojang momoko jite on.
Yes, Solo Bojang was leading the operation.
From what you know, do you believe that these Ghanaians could have been, these West African migrants could have been killed without Yahya Jammeh's approval or authorization?
ñooñu nga xam ne ñu ngi bàyyeekoon Afrique soo jant ñu woon fi mun nañ leen a rey te Yahya Jammeh du ko yëg wala joxewut ndigal li.
Déedéet man foguma loolu.
No, I don't think so.
Why don't you think so?
lu tax fooguloo ko.
Parce que man foguma ne ñoom Solo am nañ sañ-sañ boobu.
I don't think Solo and others will have the audacity
fekk amuñ ndigal bu jóge ci moom.
without having any authorization from him.
He, however, denied participating in the killing of Ndongombub, who was alleged to have been shot by Sanamanjang. Further testifying before the commissioners, Aliu Jeng confirmed that they had participated in torturing people at the NIA headquarters, with him personally assigned to be bringing sticks and other materials for beating prisoners.
Ñun dañu dé wax ku gaay soxla.
They used to tell us whom they needed.
Dañu dé wax pour ñu isi ko.
That we should collect the individual.
Suñ ko isé.
And after we bring in the individual,
ñun dañu dé wax ne pour ñu dem dogi banta.
They will normally tell us to go out and fetch some sticks.
So non lañ dé dem.
And so that was how we used to go.
Suñ démé ñu wor ci within NIA premises.
We will go around and look around the NIA premises.
Luñ am ra lo xamné mun na dur.
Whatever we could pick up, anything that could be used as beating material.
Dañ ko dé ici.
We usually bring it along.
Ñu jox leen.
And we give it to them.
According to Jeng, Out of the 7 years he took part in the Junglers operation, he physically took part in the killings of Deda Haidara, Haruna Jammeh and Dauda Nyasi, while participating in the killings of Daba Marena, Alpha Ba, Manlafikor and 4 others, and accepted his role in also participating in the torture of at least 5 people at the NIA headquarters. When given the opportunity to address the commissioners and the Gambian people, Aliu Jeng expressed regret at getting involved in such heinous human rights violations during his time with the hit squad. He pleaded for forgiveness, particularly from the victim's family, and also apologized to the commissioners for his behavior during the question and answer sessions. This related to the fact the witness had come across as invasive and untruthful, only admitting his culpability on numerous occasions when confronted with evidence from other witnesses which contradicted his own. Next to testify before the commissioners was Lamin Job, former information minister of the Gambia Students' Union known as GAMSU. Mr. Job recalled the incident of 2000 where a student, Ibrahim Abari, was alleged to have been killed by the fire service officers. He also recalled an incident that led to the shooting and killing of students who were on a peaceful demonstration by members of the security forces in April 2000. His full testimony will be brought in the next news bulletin. Babu Karsi, QTV News.
20 journalists are currently undergoing a 2-week training course on investigative journalism, specifically on how to investigate corruption and financial misconduct by public officials. Momodu Lamin Choi attended the opening of the training, and he finds out its significance and the perception of journalists and asks whether the government can be effectively held to account under the current dispensation.
Some call it a game-changer initiative. Journalists are being trained to check on the actions of public officials and report any incidents of corruption or economic misconduct to the public. Investigative journalism improves good governance and ensures transparency and accountability in a country. The practice of investigative journalism appears to be low in the Gambia, even after a series of training courses of such nature having been organized for journalists by the Gambia Press Union. The president of the union advised the trainees to begin taking steps in fulfilling their responsibility to the public.
My advice would be to look at this training as a key step that will propel us to hold our leaders and our institutions to account. This is not a training that will only require you to say what the authorities say. This training is to put out what they do not say, what they do not want people to know, and what is in the interest of the country and the population, the citizens.
The lead trainer of the program, a veteran Senegalese journalist, emphasizes the importance of the presence of investigative journalism in a country for reporting corruption and financial misconduct at both public and private levels.
You know, in all countries in the world, you have issues, topics of facts that are hidden to the public. You cannot have them disclosed easily. And if you don't have investigative journalists, you don't have investigative reporters who would investigate crimes, who would know that some people are not paying their taxes, when there's tax evasion, who would report drug trafficking, who would report corruption when there are certain deals, be it in the private sector or in the public sector.
Participants we spoke to believe that this is a step forward towards strengthening their capacity in their role of holding government to account. This is the third time some of these participants have benefited from investigative journalism training, but the record of investigative reports still seems to be low. This participant, however, confirms the status quo but blames inadequate resources and bad media laws on the Gambian statute books as their main constraints in carrying out investigations of public officials.
For example, unlike other countries where there is access to information law, When even as an ordinary citizen, not even a journalist, you can go to any public official and ask for a public document that should be made public. But unfortunately, in the Gambia, there hasn't been that environment. There is lack of access to information law. But more important, there are other draconian media laws that are also setting back our work, that are also making our work very difficult. Even an ordinary journalist, an ordinary day-to-day reporter, much more an investigative journalist whose responsibility is to unveil, things that someone somewhere is trying to hide from the public view.
Each participant of the training is presented with a brand new laptop and a digital recorder. The facilities are to equip them with some of the tools necessary for the task of investigative reporting. The program is funded by the United Democracy Fund through the Gambia Press Union. Mahmoud Lamin Choi for QTV News.
The Commission on Political Debate has been officially launched at the American Corner in a press conference after it was established in 2016 as an institutionalized body. The objective of the Commission is to ensure popular participation in national discourse, enhancing political awareness, and ensuring accountable leadership. Malik Nyang has more on the story.
In its bid to serve the Gambia in its pursuit for political correctness, social welfare, peace, and competitiveness in politics, the Commission on Political Debate has been officially launched to give a forum for politicians of different political parties to showcase their competence, manifestos, and convince the electorate of their respective portfolios. The CPD is a private, non-profit, and non-partisan organization that is seeking to promote political debates, good governance, and accountable leadership in the Gambia. The executive director of the Commission, Bakari Fati, spoke about the successes the Commission has had since its inception.
We have registered myriads of successes in terms of organizing political debates, which arguably have contributed significantly in the electoral processes of the various political leaders in the country.
In the same vein, he said that in 2016, the Commission, in collaboration with International Visitors Leadership Program and National Youth Parliament, conducted the first ever presidential debate, which was attended by almost all political parties in the country. A volunteer with the Commission, Teslima Jallo, also spoke about the reason behind the Commission's formation.
The idea of it is to create a platform for politicians to have an interface with their electorates, those who are going to elect them actually, so that they can share with them their agendas, their manifestos, and again to also have them counter each other's manifestos.
The CPD does not only organize political debates, but also focuses on training for elected representatives, organizations and individuals, research on opinion polls, symposia and magazines. They also promote advocacy on recommendations on electoral law reforms and voter education. The press conference concluded with a series of questions from various media representatives, which were responded to by the executive director of the Commission. Malik Nyang for QTV News.
We will go with a short commercial break, and the news continues when we return.
Light. From the beginning of time, light has been there.
It is integral to our survival and to our way of living.
We need light to work,
to build,
to grow things, and even to see our loved ones.
Light makes things easier and better.
So QCell has changed the way you buy Q-Power to make it easier and more accessible.
You can now access the same service quickly and get your cash power tokens instantly with the new QCell Q-Power code.
To light up your world, simply dial *363#.
With the touch of your fingers,
with ease and convenience from the comfort of your home or office,
you can bring light into your world instantly with *363#.
Q-Power, lighting your world.
QCell Sunyabus.
We innovate, others follow.
It is the new era in broadcasting. We showed it to you with our continuously improving content, with thousands of viewers around the world Now, how do you take advantage of our existing and constantly increasing viewership? Advertise with QTV and reach a large audience. Call us on 3244 or email marketing@qtv.gm. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. QTV Gambia. QTV, a new era in broadcasting.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is QTV News. Considering the fact that animals are not being caged at the Abuko Nature Reserve, the question is as to how these animals are monitored and fed within the vast lands of about 134 hectares. Ajifatu Bintumbub reports.
The Abuko Nature Reserve was once one of the country's most famous wildlife and nature parks. However, the place has been losing that title over the years. Losing most of their animals has made the park become more of a rehabilitation center than a nature and wildlife park. As a result, animals that are there have the freedom to roam the large forest. With a lack of facilities and resources to track these animals, monitoring and feeding them has proven to be difficult, with their keepers only able to provide them with water and open spaces. This means the animals appear to live with the system of survival of the fittest when it comes to getting their food. Binta Sambu, Senior Wildlife Conservation Officer, shares more.
Like the rangers, we have rangers who normally do go on patrol. Like in areas where there are animals, they will go and patrol those areas at like specific places like drinking points. If you see, like if an animal is sick, you will definitely know he or she is sick because they won't go like far from the drinking areas. That is what we have observed most of the time. But if they see any of those animals, they will record it. And sometimes you go to the area, you see dead animals, and then they will record it, and we keep them, those records.
While most are roaming freely, others such as hyenas and baboons are caged. According to the handlers, this is because some of them might be a threat to human life. The caged animals are provided with food and checked by a vet every week. Sambati Scully, an animal attendant, explains how the animals are fed.
All the dead animals from the abattoir, goat, sheep, cow, are brought here for the hyenas. And even in the country, people call us to pick up a dead animal if there is any at their surrounding. When they get here, we operate them and share them amongst the hyenas, who kill and operate if they are extremely sick and on the verge of dying.
The Senior Wildlife Conservation Officer further urges the public not to waste dead animals, that they can be very useful as food for some animals.
These are chicken legs that are not fit for human consumption. They can be brought here and we can give them to the hyenas because the hyenas will eat them and it won't do them any harm. Like if they have dead animals also like sheep, goats and even cattle, they can bring them here and they can remove the skin. For the workers here will remove the skin and then they will feed the hyenas. So anybody who has a dead animal, before you go and dump it on the streets, you can just bring it here and then we'll remove the skin and we give it to the hyenas.
Ajifatu Bintumbu, QTV News.
The First Aid Department of the Kanifing Municipal Red Cross Branch promised to strengthen first aid as their highest priority, regarding it as a lifetime priority.
The KM Red Cross Branch is undoubtedly known for providing excellent volunteers, particularly in the area of first aid for the past 3 years. The First Aid Department of the said branch runs a variety of first aid trainings which equip volunteers and partners to apply their skills to sudden injuries, illnesses and diseases. First aid is the assistance given to a sick or injured person before the arrival of a qualified medical personnel. It is concerned not only with physical injury or illness, but also with other initial care, including psychological support for people suffering from emotional distress as a result of experiencing or witnessing a traumatic event. The branch officer of the KM Red Cross branch and a first aid tutor who once served as the head of the branch first aid department, Omar Baji, expressed his delight with the level of commitment and dedication of the volunteers under the first aid unit of the KM branch. He went on to explain on the role expected of the community in promoting the ideals of first aid at community level, and this is what he had to say.
Red Cross, of course, they are the custodians of first aid in the Gambia, because we are the only accredited institutions that teaches first aid. So therefore, we will advise the population to join the Gambia Red Cross or learn first aid through the Gambia Red Cross to help save life, because the life you save may be your own one day.
In the area of opening their arms to enable everyone on board the humanitarian family, Omar went on to explain that.
Yeah, we have what we call commercial first aid, and of course we have what we call community first aid. So normally our volunteers' capacity are built through our first aid trainings, through their links or organizations, and of course we have what we call commercial first aid, wherein companies will pay to the Gambia Red Cross, and Gambia Red Cross will send in tutors to go and train them. There you can become a first aider. You can only become a first aider when you are trained by a recognized institutions like the Gambia Red Cross, and you are certified to be called a first aider.
A first aider is a person trained and certified in first aid by a recognized institute and can use the knowledge and skills to protect and save lives with dignity and kindness, to mobilize and assist communities in preventing emergencies as well as responding to disaster situations. This is what Omar explains on few practical demonstrations usually done by first aiders.
Of course, it's a clean cut from the head, and we use what we call a triangular bandage, a cloth being cut into triangular shape called triangular bandage is what we use. And of course, you need a flat pad, a clean flat pad to put on top of the wound, to put pressure in order to minimize the flow of blood or to stop the bleeding. So this is the part, and then of course after which you have to put a bandage to secure it. Otherwise, if you leave the part like that, it will fall down, and then of course it will encourage bleeding as well. So this other one, according to what I'm seeing, is like a single leg fracture. You have to mobilize and tie legs together so that at least they will help in the movement. Of course, when you are transporting someone who has a fracture, all right, you have to mobilize the legs together like they have just done. And then now 3 months, 3 people will be there to lift, and then what we call 3-man lifting. We use it to at least help someone who has a fracture and legs be mobilized together, or someone who cannot walk by him or herself, and the person needs to be taken to another destination. So this is what we call 3-man lifting. We use this when there is no means of transportation, no vehicle, no other means of transportation, and as well as in the absence of a stretcher, we can use this means to transport such casualties to the nearest health facility. Like this other one is must have dislocated his shoulder. This is what we call upper arm ceiling elevation. Why we are doing this, we tie together, we bring the leg, the affected hand on the other side of the shoulder, and then it's really, of course, it will be tied, and then the other cross tie here is just to make sure when the person is moving, if the person is moving, it will also minimize the movement of the hand as he walks. So that's the importance of the other, bandage that has been coiled, that has been tied across, and then of course the force will come and be on the side of the unaffected hand so that it will help him move to the nearest health facility.
The first aid department of the Kanifi Municipal Red Cross branch is able to train 585 males and 728 females, making a total of 1,313 in the area of basic first aid from June 2016 to July 2019, respectively. For QTV News, Lamin Alai-Fandin Dabo reporting.
The Gambia's most watched and followed summer football jamboree, popularly called Nawetan, is back again. Over the weekend, Serekunda East Zone were the latest to kickstart their summer football Nawetan with a curtain raiser between last year's league winners, Milan Bros, and knockout champions Rangers FC. Babakar C watched the season opener for us and files in this report.
Nawetan football is back again. The country's most followed summer football championship is taking center stage across the country, with Serekunda East the latest zone to kickstart. Saturday's opener between Milan Ross and Rangers FC was witnessed by thousands of supporters within and outside the stadium. The first half was, however, not what many had hoped to see, as chances created were few from both sides and the beautiful football expected was not on display from either sides. The goalless first half ended with both coaches getting the chance to make tactical adjustments to brighten up the second half. The break seemed to have done the tricks, as the second half, however, proved to be a different scenario, with the fans now getting valued for money. Rangers were the first to find the back of the net in the 60th minute, when Ismaila Mane finally got the much-needed goal after some wasteful finishing from his forward line. That lead didn't last long, as Milan Ross responded 8 minutes later with a well-deserved equalizer thanks to Edward Mendy, who rescued his side. That was all the scoring after 90 minutes of highly competitive football, and the referee wasted no time in pointing to the spot for penalty kicks. After a marathon penalty shootout, which saw almost all the 22 players taking part, Milan Ross were luckiest on the evening, scoring 9 spot kicks to Rangers 8. This is what Rangers coach Modulamin Mane had to say after the lose. His opponent Sang Mendy was delighted to win the Cotton Razor and promised that his boys will come back even better in the upcoming campaign to defend the league title they won last season. As winners, Milan went home with a trophy and a prize of $20,000, while Rangers took home a consolation prize of $15,000. Nawetan proper in Serekunda East kickstarts on Tuesday with 2 games to be played every day. Babu Karsi, QTV News.
Before we end this bulletin of the news, let's take a quick look at our main stories. A former member of ex-President Jammeh's hit squad, the so-called Junglers, concluded his testimony before the TRRC, postponed from the pre-Tobaski break. 20 journalists are currently undergoing a 2-week training course on investigative journalism, specifically on how to investigate corruption and financial misconduct by public officials. An organization intending to get politicians and the public more involved in political debate has been formally launched. The Red Cross is a well-established organization in the Gambia. The KMC branch took the opportunity to impart some life-saving skills and advice. As Nawetan fans await the season to start in earnest, a curtain raiser between Rangers FC and Milan Ross did much to whet their appetites. That's all we have for you in this edition of the news. Join us tomorrow for more news. Thank you for watching.